Welcome to the Digital Enterprise Society podcast, addressing all aspects of the digital enterprise, inspiring connection without boundaries and creation without limits. Thank you for tuning in. Here are your hosts, Thom Singer and Craig Brown.
Well, hello there. You have found your way to another episode of the Digital Enterprise Society podcast. Thank you so much for coming along on the journey of this show that was designed to be a resource for those who work in and around PLM. The Digital Enterprise Society, it is a forum for the exchange of ideas surrounding the tools, processes, and practices used across the product lifecycle. To learn more, visit digitalenterprisesociety.org. My name is Thom Singer, and I have the honor to co-host this show every single week, usually with Craig Brown. Craig is usually here as my co-host, and he is an industry veteran and former PLM leader at General Motors. But today, we're doing one of these career-focused ones where it's just me and a really smart guest. So today, we are going to talk with Leslie Ehm. She has a new book coming out called Swagger, and it's going to come out in May, and we'll talk a little bit about what it means to have swagger. She is a speaker and a trainer. She has worked internationally, and she helps people with their creativity and finding this whole idea around swagger. And today, I thought we would talk about creativity in business. And if you're feeling stuck, because we're in this winter, some of us have been through really bad storms. I live in Texas, so we went through sort of the storm of the century. I think a lot of people sometimes just feel overwhelmed. And Leslie is so good helping us see our way through creativity. I wanted to invite her here on the show. So Leslie, welcome to the Digital Enterprise Society podcast.
Oh, this is so much fun for me because I have such love for technologists. I refer to it as like profound geek love in the best possible way, but I have such deep geek love. I'm so honored to work with people in all aspects of technology, and they are my favorite people because they're so freaking smart. They're so smart.
They are smart. And the people who listen to the Digital Enterprise Society podcast, they're really smart, and they're really looking for ways that over time they can grow their careers, they can succeed, and they can help their organizations really succeed. So Leslie, one of the things about you is you're an expert in creativity, which I think is kind of cool. But what does that even mean? How does somebody become an expert in creativity?
Well, my background was in creativity sort of coming up. I worked in the music industry, in the film industry, in the TV industry. And I was always someone who people referred to as being, and I'm making little air quotes, naturally creative. But I moved on and ended up working in the ad business. And what I discovered was that there was this mindset around creativity that you either had it or you didn't. And I realized that was patently untrue. Creativity was not a gift that the little pixies came and sprinkled upon you at birth. You know, who wants to be creative? Step forward, not so fast, little Johnny, you step back. That is not the way that it works. And I saw that so many people struggled with this idea of creativity and even defining what the hell it was, you know? And so people tended to put themselves in one category or the other. I am creative or I'm not. And as a result, they didn't have confidence around sharing their ideas. They didn't think that they can contribute to innovation in a profound way. And they didn't believe that they could find opportunities for creativity in the roles that they had. And I wanted to shatter that mythology. So it became part of the mandate when I started my training company called Combustion. That was one of the first things that we started to train people on was creative problem solving, because that's what creativity really is. It's not about artistry. Creativity is not, do you play an instrument, or are you a good painter, or are you a writer? It is the ability to come up with new and different ways to solve problems, and then to combine those ideas to turn them into bigger, richer solutions. And anybody can do it, anybody can learn it, and anybody is capable of unleashing massive creativity.
Well, that's exciting, and I want to unpack that here in a little bit. But the other word I used to introduce you was you were an expert in creativity, but you also have written this new book called Swagger. What is the whole title of the book?
Swagger, unleash everything you are and become everything you want.
I like that. So tell the audience a little bit about this concept of swagger and what it means.
Well, when you say the word swagger, a lot of people think of that show-offy peacocky, fronty, arrogant, loud, extroverted, in your face kind of jam. And that is not what I'm talking about. And in fact, it's quite the opposite. I define swagger as the ability to manifest who you really are and hold on to it in the face of all that psychological crap that's going to come before it, regardless of situation or environment. So you are the same no matter where you are, no matter what kind of duress you're under, no matter who you're around. And you believe absolutely that you, who you are inherently, is good enough to bring you the success that you've dreamed of.
So let's combine them. As I said, I think at this time of year, it's kind of a great time, being, March, time frame. It's kind of nice to see the end of winter. Maybe spring is hinting at us that it's coming, but I think a lot of people might get in the doldrums in their career. They feel stuck. Plus, we've been working from home for almost a year. How do people combine creativity and swagger, and how can it help them advance in their careers and help their departments and whole companies do more?
Ooh, that's such a delicious question. I love this content. Maybe I need to write another book about this. So I think that something inadvertently magical has happened. And I love to reframe, because whenever you give me a problem, I'm going to give you an opportunity. That's part of what creativity is all about. And one of the things that I love about this time, because you got to find the upside, is that we're all in it together. We are all the same. It's the great equalizer. And we have been sort of given this opportunity to be far more authentic. I mean, we're inviting people into our freaking homes now with our videos on, and people can see what our shelves are and the dirty clothes left and right. And our kids are coming in and the dog is barking and the husband and the wife and the partner and the thing. And so we have sort of created this new world in which we are more comfortable being our authentic selves. And what I wish for everybody is that what comes along with that is our ability to speak our truth. Because there's a lot more interest in what our truth is. Good leaders everywhere are checking in with us in a whole different way and saying, how are you feeling? How are you coping? What's in your way? How can I support you? What's going on? Are there any issues? And this gives us an opportunity to start speaking our truth. And what comes along with our truth is our ability to share our thoughts and ideas on a whole different level, because the world is changing so rapidly in this unprecedented environment that's so ripe for creativity and innovation, because we don't know what the hell to do. As a result, anything goes and anything has to go. So the ability to come up with these new and different ideas and speak our truth about them is the most valuable thing that we can do for our organization right now. It's to come up with crazy, wild, beyond the realm ideas for how we can not just keep up with this change, but see where things are going and get ahead of things and create this whole new world. So my message is to anybody who has been insecure or inhibited or worried about what the thoughts and ideas might be in their heads and whether they will be welcomed, because that's a big swagger limiter. If you're really afraid of how the world is going to take you, then you start to question your own validity. That is anti-swagger, bad swagger, no sans swagger. So right now you got to get out there and speak your truth, because the value that you're going to contribute by coming up with these radical thoughts and ideas that are stimulated and inspired by the environment that we live in. You got to speak that jam. You got to get on that, you know what I was thinking? You know what? It's kind of weird, but, and be able to start speaking your truth with more self-belief.
So some people, though, might feel that maybe they're not high enough up on the org chart to go share a wild, out-of-the-box idea that, could really impact their department or the company. So how do people, should they just start by coming up with the big ideas, by themselves, or should they start by telling everybody the ideas? What's a way, if somebody feels like, well, nobody in the company wants to hear what I have to say. I've only been here 6 months, or I'm young, or, no one's going to listen to me because of my job title. How do they get around that?
Well, my first little tip is that ideas do not come into the world fully formed, nor do they come into the world formed by a single mind. So it's very, very important to share your idea. So find someone on your team who you think is open. Just start with that and say, hey, I was thinking, I had this idea. Is there a way that you can contribute to it? Do you have a yes and for me? I'm not looking for criticism. I'm looking for a yes and. I'm looking for a build, because now we can combine our thoughts and ideas to create a bigger, richer idea, and it'll have better context and better strength. And now you got two people that can help to push and promote that idea. And then you know what? Go find somebody else who you think might dig that idea on your team and share it with them. Giving away your ideas is not an opportunity for someone to take them. It's an opportunity for someone to contribute to them. Everybody wants to be part of the next great idea. And you're looking for people who are open to this yes and mentality. So now imagine you've got 3 or 4 people who are getting excited about this idea. That's a little creativity army that you've got. Then share it with someone who you think is open, next level up, and say, hey, the 4 of us were thinking. And it also shows that you've vetted the idea a little bit. You've built on it. You've gotten multiple contexts on this idea. So it gives a little bit more oomph, a little bit more, cojones. And so now you've got 4 people sharing it with the next level up. And another tip is to make it easy for people to continue to share your ideas. So the ability to distill your idea into a clear thought, into kind of an idea statement, reduce it into that 2-sentence elevator pitch is also really valuable, because it makes it easier for someone to continue to share it. Everybody wants to be on the idea bandwagon, because everybody wants to believe that they were a part of it somehow. So instead of worrying about, I don't like this idea of hierarchy, but I'm the down here and they're up there, and the only way this idea can succeed is to get it up there. Well, there's a lot of people in that chain. And the more champions you get, the more power it takes on and the more context, because other people up the chain can give you more context about what are the things that are missing from this idea, or what it's going to need to succeed. And they can yes and you, and you can continue to build and grow, because now everybody is a contributor to that idea. So take it one little step at a time. Find your champions. Get your yes ands, refine your idea, get context from other people, and then start to share it up the chain.
So you make me think, in certain companies, is there like a positive culture that promotes creativity and swagger, to use your word? And in some companies, is that held back? And if you're in a company that's in the latter, are there ways an individual can impact that culture and get this idea of idea exchange and creativity and positivity and teamwork and swagger? Is there a way they can sneak that into their culture, no matter where they are on that org chart?
Yeah, I mean, I wish there was some magical thing. I mean, it really is it's a top down kind of thing, but it can bubble up from the bottom. So the first thing is that, when we talk about work culture is just a bunch of people. So if we can change a bunch of humans, then we start to impact culture. My first rule is never, ever say no or yeah, but. Just don't be that person, because that makes you an a-hole. All you're doing is being an active idea killer. There's no point to it. There's no point in putting a bullet in an idea before it's had a chance to gestate and grow and so on and so forth. So be that person for everybody else who says yes and. Here's something that I can add to it. Here's a thought. Here's something, but don't be an idea killer. And remind other people when they say no or yeah, but, because yeah, but is just no in a dress. Don't kid yourselves. It's not helpful. So be that for other people and start to permeate that. The other thing too is when you get asked for something, because everyone is, when you start to look for it, everyone is actually asking you for ideas, because whenever they're looking for a problem to be solved, they're asking you for new and unique ideas. And the only way to solve problems effectively is to be able to come up with new and unique ways to do it, because we know that if it's a problem, the old stuff we've been doing doesn't work. So whether they're clearly and articulately saying, I need creativity or I need innovation now, you've got to look for it. You've got to recognize the opportunity when you see one. So whenever there's a problem that doesn't seem to go away, not a symptom, but a problem, because when we solve symptoms, we just put Band-Aids on them and the problems continue to exist. So look for those juicy problems and try and figure out, well, what's causing this problem and how can we make this problem go away? Then ask that person who has stated that they have a problem, ask them for criteria. Very, very important. So you're looking for a solution for this thing. What must this solution have in your mind? They'll tell you, have that conversation, be a sounding board for them, and then make sure as you develop your idea, you're working towards criteria, because it's way easier for them to accept your idea if it has criteria attached to it. Plus, there's something called the creator manager paradigm. And this says that people who create in a vacuum without the input of managers are less likely to get their ideas heard and accepted, because they haven't had the involvement of decision makers. And decision makers who are not involved in the creative process are less likely to accept ideas. So you really want to start to spread that and get someone who has some decision-making power into the process as soon as you can, and start to create that dialogue. It's just about understanding the difference between risk and innovation, because it can be a really fine line. And we need to reframe it to say, well, the brain the way that the brain is structured says that which has been tested and proven equals good. That which has not been tested and proven by definition equals bad. That does not bode well for creativity and innovation, because our instinct is, well, when you share this idea with me, I go, I don't even know how that would work. I can't imagine. Well, you can't imagine because you've never seen it. But that's how every great idea starts, with what if, and could you imagine, and in a world where. So we got to have a little patience and tenacity for that, and compassion, because idea killers in the organization, they're not bad people. They're just people with brains, and their brains are trying to protect them. So all that criteria and involvement stuff can help minimize that resistance to what is perceived as risk.
So you bring up something that has my mind spinning, and that is, for people who work in and around complicated technologies, there's a bit of a paradox, because you're saying that the brain is saying proven and tested, good, not proven and tested, maybe not as good. And yet these are people who thrive and excel because of innovation. So this becomes a bit of a paradox for people who work, really smart people who are building careers around technology, like the people who are listening to this show. So how do you have any tips for how they can work around, that paradox?
Well, I mean, if you work in technology, you work in a test and refine environment. That's what it's all about. So every idea that you guys are working on right now started with an idea that somebody came up with. And if we could do this big analysis and trace it back to an individual, we would see that someone said, I was thinking this change might be something that would be helpful. It's whether it's a shift in a user experience, or it's a shift in how the speed of technology or the accessibility of it. There's a million little tweaks that we make. And all these tweaks end up evolving into these big pieces of innovation. So I think that, remember that you work in a test and refine environment. And that's at the heart of what creativity is. It's about ideation, testing, refining. So what the hell you got to lose?
So I love to end all of these podcasts with career advice, real takeaways for the people who are listening to this show. And, I think we've covered a lot of great ground around creativity and around swagger. But if somebody wants to advance their career, give me some clear, write these down right now, listener, tips of how people can take what you teach and actually impact themselves starting today.
Okay, well, work culture, unfortunately, often tells us that we are safer when we assimilate into the Borg, when we keep our heads down and we don't really make a lot of noise. Bad, wrong. If you want to be noticed, you have to get noticed. And that means you got to pop your head up. You've got to be with the ideas. You've got to make positive contributions, and you've got to stick your head up. So you've got to be fearless in being recognized. Because if you don't get seen, you won't get recognized. The other thing to do is, if you're looking to ascend in your career, try not to fixate too much on the ascension, on what's above you. Focus more on your colleagues, your peers, and the people who work for you. Because if you're a badass with them, if you're a mentor and a supporter and a natural leader, someone who people know that they can go to for counsel and you'll support them and so on and so forth, these people will become your champions and they will lift you to where you go. That's the thing about, natural leaders can come from anywhere. It's not about a title. It's about a mindset and a behavior set. So be that for everybody else and test those leadership skills. Even if you're not leading people, test it among your peers and your colleagues because they will recognize it. And when people say, so who's the person on your team you go to most? They'll say, that person, that's, he, she, they are badass. And I always rely on them and so on and so forth. And that's the person who shines. The other piece of advice is do not pretend to be anything that you're not, ever. Because as soon as you pretend to be someone that you're not and you get a career boost, you're now stuck continuing to pretend to be something you're not. And remember that there is always going to be a massive amount of discomfort and even, yes, the dreaded imposter syndrome as you're trying to take the next level in your career, because you're going to have to do stuff you've never done before, which means your confidence stemming from competence is going to be a little low. But that's okay, because that means that you're trying to get to the next level at the right time. Because if you've been doing this stuff for a long, long, long time, you waited too long. So expect to feel super uncomfortable and overwhelmed and trepidatious about the stuff that you don't know, because that's what getting to the next level is all about.
So I love the point about don't pretend you're something you're not. There's a lot of advice around there to people who are up and coming saying, oh, fake it till you make it. And at the core of that advice, it's a mindset thing. It's about step up. However, people misinterpret that to go be a fraud until you make it. And like you said, then you've got to wear this mask every day because it's not who you are.
And you know what screws you the most, and people forget about this, is that if you pretend that, I got it, I'm all over it, I know everything, I'm so together, then you screw yourself because you can't ask for help now. You can't put your hand up and go, here, learning curve, not really exactly sure what to do yet, getting there, working on it. But you have to pretend that you know everything. And that takes away a massive, massive sort of access to all the smart people around you who have information that you don't. So it's just a really bad, dumb advice because it paralyzes you and it limits your ability to grow and evolve.
But don't some people misinterpret your work around swagger to mean that?
Well, not if they read the book, they don't, because it's like the first thing I say is fake it till you make it is really, really, really bad. So here's the difference between those two things, right? The thing that everyone is seeking when they do the whole fake it till you make it crap is that they're seeking to have this persona of confidence, right? Everyone, this elusive confidence. I want to look like I have confidence. Here's the thing, though. Confidence can only come from competence. You only get to have legit confidence when you've done something over and over and over again, and you know for sure that you know what the hell you're talking about. But this only applies when you've done something over and over and over again. So anytime you step out of your comfort zone and you're in that growth place, you can no longer rely on this thing called confidence. You got to go to the swagger stuff, which is self-belief. You got to believe without a shadow of a freaking doubt that you can jump off that cliff and you are not going to die. I mean, okay, you might hit a few branches on the way down. You might bounce, you might fly, you might float, but you're not going to crash and burn. So I'd rather go to self-belief every time because it allows me that space to say, I'm still learning here, people. And that makes me real and authentic to other people. Plus, it gives me so much opportunity for authentic connection because now people have the feels for me because I'm open about what I do and don't know. And I'm willing to be in service of the collective and learn as much as I can to be the best at what I do.
So I love this piece about, that self-confidence and that knowing. But the earlier advice that you gave when I first asked for the career advice was sometimes you got to stick your head up. Sometimes you got to be the one who says, hey, look at me, I got this idea. What do you do when you do that and you do fail? Like sometimes it's great to talk about. Stand up, have your idea. Sometimes you have a dumb idea and it costs the company money or time, and it hurts your reputation. What do you do then?
Well, listen, if your idea has gotten to the place where the company could lose money about it, there's been a lot of other people involved at that point. So it's not like they go back to the root of this idea and they put a bullet in you, that's the story you tell yourself, but that's not the reality of what is actually going to happen. And the thing is, we know when it comes to creativity and innovation, if you don't fail, you have not gone far enough, right? You can always, you can. The thing with ideas is it's much, much, much easier to reel in a wild and crazy idea than it is to push out a safe one. So you go big or go home, and then you start to say, okay, well, where's the line? Where's that risk line? Or where's that line of doability? Let's reel it in to make it work. But there's going to be a lot of people involved in that decision. And the thing too is, I don't like this whole success failure bullshit paradigm. It's again, that's a story we tell ourselves. Failure doesn't really exist. It doesn't really exist. If you're still standing and you still have a couch to sleep on, you're good to go. And so failure to me is all the things you don't do. That's failure. The things that you try is called growth and learning and evolution and trial and error, because you ask anybody on this planet who is successful. They have tried 5 kabillion things, and 2 of them have played out really freaking well. But look where they are now. But they had to come up with 5 kabillion to begin with. So I've had 11 careers in my life. And did everyone go exactly as planned? Hell to the no. Did everybody reap, was money falling from the sky? Hell to the no. But did I learn? Oh my God, yes. And did it lead me to unexpected and unknown places? Hell to the yeah. And this advice is not just for people like me who are natural extroverts and all the rest of it. Introverts are powerful people. They are my favorite people. I'm married to a hardcore geek introvert. And this man is brilliant. And so the only difference really is we know about introverts, extroverts, is just how much energy you can expend before you need to go quietly lie in the closet and sort of regroup. But the beauty of introverts is that they force people to lean in. So you don't have to yell your brilliance. You can whisper it. And people are going to lean in and go, wait, tell me more. Hang on, tell me more. But you need to still speak up. Whatever your volume is, you got to speak up, because your truth and your swagger deserve it.
Well, Leslie Ehm, thank you so much for spending time with me and with the audience of the Digital Enterprise Society podcast. Your book comes out in May. Please repeat the title one more time. And I'm pretty sure, I bet people can even pre-order it already on Amazon. What is the title?
It's called Swagger. Unleash everything you are and become everything you want.
Well, that is the message we wanted today to bring to everybody in our audience. I think this is going to be one of those episodes that gets shared amongst everybody at work and that people go back and listen to again. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. Remember, we want you to come here every single week, because every time Craig and I look for ways to bring you more thoughts, ideas, and information in and around product lifecycle management. The Digital Enterprise Society, it is the place for the exchange of ideas around digital manufacturing tools. Go check us out at digitalenterprisesociety.org.
You've been listening to the Digital Enterprise Society podcast. Learn more about what you've heard here today at digitalenterprisesociety.org. Join us again next week for more connection without boundaries and creation without limits.